We usually think of our health as a basic checklist, right? Eat this vegetable, lift that weight, get those steps in. We kind of treat the human body like a collection of totally isolated parts. But beneath the surface, there's a deeply interconnected, highly intelligent biological operating system literally running your life behind the scenes. And in this explainer, we're going to expose exactly how it works. So you have to ask yourself, what invisible biological forces are actually shaping the quality of your life, your cognitive future, and even your rate of aging every single day? Well, today, we're peeling back the layers of your biology. We're going to see how your environment influences your behavior, how your behavior physically rewires your nervous system, how that shifts your inflammation, and how that inflammation literally rewrites your genetic future. It's all connected. Section 1. Your hidden operating system, the evolutionary clocks. Let's start at the very first layer of our biology, the macroscopic behaviors and the ancient environmental forces that govern our days. You see, long before modern medicine, our bodies were sculpted by something much bigger, the rotation of the Earth. Basically, we're driven by two incredibly ancient evolutionary processes. First up is process S. Think of this like a homeostatic battery. From the very second you wake up, your brain activity generates a chemical sleep pressure. The longer you're awake, the more this pressure builds up, essentially discharging your battery until you eventually just have to recharge. Now, working alongside that is process C, your circadian clock. This is an internal timing mechanism anchored entirely to the light and dark cycles of the sun. It uses cortisol to wake you up and melatonin to pull you into rest. And here's the thing, for optimal health, these two systems must work in absolute perfect harmony. But here is the profound modern conflict we're all facing. We have engineered a world that completely disrupts over 500 million years of evolutionary experience. We spend our days indoors under light that's way too dim to anchor that circadian clock, and then our nights staring at screens that are so bright they actively suppress our melatonin. We push through our natural fatigue with caffeine, artificially masking that process as sleep pressure, and then, well, we wonder why our biology feels broken. We're literally fighting the deepest operating system we possess. Section 2, washing the aging brain, the active architecture of rest. Okay, so what actually happens when we finally surrender to sleep? First, we need to correct a massive myth right now. Sleep is absolutely not a passive state. It is an incredibly active architectural process, especially inside your skull. Enter one of the most stunning discoveries in recent neuroscience, the glymphatic system. I want you to imagine a microscopic, high-pressure power washing system inside your brain. It utilizes this intricate network of astroglial tunnels to literally pump cerebrospinal fluid straight through your brain tissue. Why? To wash away toxic extracellular protein waste. We're talking specifically about amyloid beta and tau proteins, which are the exact proteins linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. Your brain is quite literally cleaning itself while you sleep. And here is the staggering reality about this process. This glymphatic washing system becomes up to 10 times more active during deep, slow-wave sleep compared to when you're awake. 10 times. This physical pumping of fluid requires massive amounts of metabolic energy. That's exactly why your brain's energy consumption barely drops while you sleep. It's just diverting all that energy away from conscious thought and directly into cellular sanitation. But what happens when our evolutionary clocks are disrupted and we don't get that deep sleep? The consequences are severe. Glymphatic flow dramatically decreases. The metabolic trash doesn't get taken out. Those dementia-associated proteins start to accumulate, which triggers chronic local inflammation, and eventually, that leads to irreversible neuronal loss. The nightly brainwash is halted, and that alters the entire trajectory of your cognitive longevity decades before any symptoms ever actually appear. So we now know how sleep protects the mind, but what if the brain isn't the only organ fighting for your future while you're asleep? What else is happening in the dark? Section 3, the night side of blood, cardiovascular chronobiology. Let's descend into the second layer of this hidden system, moving away from the brain and into your cardiovascular network to look at the incredible science of thermoregulation. There's an exact, fascinating biological cascade that must happen for you to fall asleep. About 2 hours before bed, your brain's master clock sends a signal to your body to start redistributing heat. By 60 minutes before bed, blood vessels in your extremities dilate. This creates a distal proximal gradient. Basically, it forces heat out of your core and pushes it out to your hands and feet. By the time you actually fall asleep, your core body temperature has dropped by 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit. You literally have to cool down in order to shut down. Now, this drop in temperature is tightly coupled with your heart. As your core cools, your nervous system shifts out of that sympathetic fight or flight mode and into parasympathetic rest and digest recovery. And this triggers a phenomenon known as nocturnal dipping, where your blood pressure naturally falls by about 10 to 20%. This dip, it is the ultimate signal of cardiovascular recovery.
But here's where we hit a terrifying scientific paradox. If that parasympathetic shift gets interrupted, your blood pressure doesn't drop. And in the absolute most dangerous scenario, a phenotype called reverse dipping occurs. This is when your nighttime blood pressure actually rises above your daytime baseline. Studies show that reverse dipping carries a severely elevated risk of catastrophic cardiovascular events and stroke. Your heart is basically being forced to sprint while it should be sleeping.
So, what causes this failure to dip? This is where the astonishing link between emotion and biology comes in. Low social support, feelings of loneliness, or psychological anxiety keeps your sympathetic nervous system highly aroused. Your body stays on high alert. Because of that, the parasympathetic shift fails. The blood pressure does not dip. Let that sink in. Your feelings of isolation or daytime hostility literally prevent your cardiovascular system from recovering at night. Emotion becomes biology. Section 4. Cellular clocks and aging, the deepest layer of biological time. We've looked at the brain and the heart, but now we're transitioning to the deepest, microscopic layer of our operating system. We're going to look at how these disruptions physically rewind or accelerate our biological age at the genetic level. First, we have to talk about cellular senescence. When our cells get damaged, they're supposed to die and be neatly cleared away, but sometimes they don't. They stop dividing and just stick around as these zombie cells. They stay metabolically active, spewing out toxic pro-inflammatory signals known as the senescence-associated secretory phenotype. This right here is the primary driver of what scientists call inflammaging. Now, think about sleep apnea for a second, where the airway collapses and breathing momentarily stops. We usually think of it as just a noisy nighttime nuisance, right? Just a snoring problem. But the science reveals a truly catastrophic reality. Sleep apnea is actually a stealth accelerator of biological aging. It's a systemic failure. The data on this is just staggering. Telomeres are the protective caps at the end of our DNA strands, kind of like the little plastic tips on your shoelaces. As we age, they naturally shorten. But when researchers look at adults over 50, healthy controls sit at an average of 8.4 kilobases. But those with severe apnea, their telomeres have shrunk all the way down to 4.8. These rapid, nightly cycles of oxygen deprivation literally shear away your DNA's protective caps. It puts your biological aging on fast forward. Because this intermittent hypoxia creates a devastating cascade in the body. Stopping breathing and starting back up again mimics the exact tissue injury seen in heart attacks. It floods the body with massive amounts of reactive oxygen species. It actually accelerates your epigenetic clock, your true biological age, by 1 to 4 entire years. And worst of all, it physically disrupts the clock BMAL1 genes that govern DNA repair. A mechanical breathing issue is fundamentally altering decades of your future health outcomes. Section 5. The architecture of flourishing, reconnecting the masterpiece. So how on earth do we fix this? Let's bring all these layers, our behavior, our brain, our blood, and our cells, together into one unified understanding of human flourishing. Look at how beautifully this masterpiece cascades when it's actually working correctly. A simple daily behavior, like getting natural morning sunlight and nurturing a real social connection, directly regulates your nervous system. Because you feel calm and connected, your heart rate variability rises, and your core temperature can effectively drop at night, allowing that crucial parasympathetic recovery. That deep recovery allows you to enter slow-wave sleep, which sparks that high-energy, glymphatic wash to clean out your brain. And because you're resting deeply and breathing fully, your cellular telomeres are preserved from stress. One tiny daily behavior sparks a massive cascade that literally protects your genetics. This is the ultimate hidden truth. The human body is not some machine made of isolated parts that you can just treat separately. Hormones influence your mood influences your behavior, that behavior rewires the nervous system regulates your inflammation, and that inflammation controls how fast your cells age. It is a profoundly interconnected masterpiece. To quote the core finding from our sources, health is not a collection of separate habits. Health is the emergent result of countless interconnected biological processes occurring every moment of every day. When you respect your biology, your ancient need for daylight, your need for human connection, your physiological need to cool down, your need to breathe without obstruction, you aren't just sleeping a little better. You are literally rewriting your biological future from the inside out. We peel back the layers to reveal the incredible, invisible machinery constantly working to keep you alive, to power wash your brain, and to repair your cells. You now know the stakes, and more importantly, you know the immense interconnected power you hold over your own biology. The only question left is, will you listen to the hidden operating system running your life tonight? Thank you for exploring this with us in today's Explainer, and we'll see you next time.